Okay, so get ready because we're diving into the world of mushroom mythology today.
Hmm. Fascinating.
It really is. We're looking at this article by V.N. Toporov on the semiotics of mythological conceptions about mushrooms, which sounds pretty dense.
Yeah, a little bit.
But basically, semiotics just means the study of symbols, so
Okay, so we're figuring out what mushrooms represent to different cultures.
you got it. And I gotta say, after reading this, I don't think I'll ever look at a portobello the same way again.
You and me both.
Okay.
It's amazing how something we think of as just food can have such deep meaning to people all over the world, you know?
Exactly. And Toporov, he argues that it's not just about eating. Mushrooms are like this blank slate that different cultures project their anxieties and beliefs onto.
Yeah, it's like they embody these fundamental dualities that humans have always grappled with. Yeah,
Dualities.
like life and death mushrooms pop up overnight and then decay so fast, or nature versus culture, are they wild or cultivated?
Yeah.
Even masculinity and femininity are all mixed up in how different cultures see mushrooms.
Huh. It's true. They do kind of defy categorization when you think about it. Even Linnaeus, the guy who invented our system for classifying life, struggled to figure out if they were plants or animals.
Imagine being that guy, inventing the whole system, and then a mushroom makes you question everything.
Right. Speaks to how strange they are. And speaking of strange, there's that whole taboo thing, you know? Like, why were mushrooms off limits in so many cultures? It's not like they're that scary.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's not about fear, it's about power. Toporov actually experienced this himself back in pre-war Russia.
No way. What happened?
He was asking around about mushrooms, totally innocent, just curious.
Yeah.
And some women basically scolded him, told him it was totally inappropriate to even talk about.
Seriously. What was so dangerous about a little fungus conversation?
Toporov thinks it's because mushrooms were linked to these super potent forces, sexuality, the ability to create life, and even the spirit world.
Okay, yeah, I can see how those topics would be a little, sensitive.
Right, like these hidden forces that could be dangerous if not treated with respect.
No.
Like mushrooms were this secret code
The secret code for what?
for things people couldn't express openly. And this ties into how a lot of cultures assign genders to mushrooms, this male and female principle.
Wait, are we talking boy mushrooms and girl mushrooms now?
Uh-huh. No, not exactly. It's more about how they view gender roles through mushrooms. Like some were seen as masculine because of their shape, others feminine. And this played into all these myths about fertility, relationships, the whole shebang.
Mushrooms, the original soap opera? But it gets even weirder, right? I mean, mushrooms in the sky, that feels like a stretch.
It does, but it comes up again and again all over the world. Mushroom-shaped idols, myths about them coming from God's spit, rituals asking for a good mushroom harvest, along with rain.
You know, now that you mention it, those fairy rings, the perfect circles of mushrooms, aren't those supposed to be magical or something?
Exactly. Doorways to other realms, places where fairies dance. In the Tyrol region, they're called Albert's rings. And legend has it that a fiery serpent named Albert flies over and creates them on St. Martin's Day. Other places, they're linked to witches or buried treasure.
Wow, it's like people were trying to find meaning in every aspect of nature.
Absolutely. And this fascination, it wasn't just folklore. Toporov found mushrooms popping up in art throughout history, from cave paintings to even Hieronymus Bosch.
Get out. So they weren't just painting what they saw, they were choosing to include mushrooms, giving them a place of importance.
Exactly,
Hmm.
like they meant something more, something deeper. And speaking of deeper meaning, are you ready for a real head-scratcher?
Hit me with it.
Toporov suggests that soma, the drink of immortality from ancient Indian texts, might have been made from, you guessed it,
Right.
hallucinogenic mushrooms.
Whoa, hold on. Summa from mushrooms. That's like the original forbidden smoothie.
Right, it sounds crazy.
It does. But I'm intrigued too. But how does Toporov even?
Well, he starts by looking at how soma is described.
Okay.
The descriptions are super visual and sensual. It's all about the color, the taste, the aroma, the feelings it evokes.
So more than just a drink, it's an experience.
Yeah, and the language used, it really mirrors how mushrooms are described in other cultures.
Interesting. But I mean, just because they're described similarly doesn't mean they're the same, right?
Of course not. But Toporov goes deeper. He looks at the rituals around soma and finds some fascinating parallels with mushroom rituals in other cultures.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, think about how soma was prepared. Pounded, filtered, mixed with milk.
Okay.
And in some cultures, poisonous mushrooms were soaked in milk to neutralize their harmful effects. A process of transformation, right?
Ah, I see. So the way they made soma echoes this idea of turning something dangerous into something good, even sacred.
Exactly. It hints at that dual nature of mushrooms, which we'll get back to. But there's this other detail about Soma. It's described as being three-spined.
Three-spine. What is this, a mythical beast?
Right. It's where that whole mushrooms as a universal classifier thing comes into play. Blurring the lines between categories, Toporov thinks this three-spined idea might be about mushrooms embodying the three kingdoms: animal plant, ND mineral.
Hold up. How can a mushroom be all of those?
Well, they share traits with each, right? They decompose matter like animals, reproduce through spores like plants, draw nutrients from the earth like minerals.
Huh. I never thought of it like that. They really don't fit neatly into any one box.
And Toporov thinks that's key why to their power. But, okay, you ready for the weird part?
You've said that like 3 times now, so lay it on me.
Soma is sometimes linked to urine.
Urine. You're messing with me, right?
Nope. Remember how some cultures saw mushrooms as divine excrement?
Oh, right, right. Like the circle of life, but with a less appetizing ingredient?
Exactly. And there are even texts that describe Soma being consumed and then, shall we say, recycled by Indra, the king of the gods.
Okay, that's not what I pictured when I thought elixir of immortality, but there's got to be a deeper meaning here.
You know it. It's not about the urine itself, it's the symbolism. The cycle of transformation, death, and rebirth, just like the mushroom transcendence through unconventional means, you could say.
So ancient people were drinking, you know, as a spiritual thing. Seriously.
Well, we're talking a different worldview, right? What seems strange to us could have been profoundly meaningful to them.
True enough, I guess. But come on, are we really supposed to believe Soma was just a magic mushroom smoothie?
It's definitely a theory. Toporov admits that. But even if Soma wasn't literally mushrooms, the connections he draws are still mind-blowing.
No arguments there. Makes you wonder what other secrets are hiding in plain sight. But hold on, there's more to the Soma myth, right? And it gets kind of dark.
You remember well. It's unsettling, for sure. Toporov points out that Soma is sometimes identified with Virtra,
Virtra. Who is that again?
the demonic serpent, all about chaos and drought, who gets taken down by Indra.
Right, right. So we've got this divine drink, maybe makes you immortal, being compared to a force of destruction. How does that even work?
It's a contradiction, right?
Yeah.
And Toporov thinks that's the point. Remember how mushrooms have that duality too? Nourishing and poisonous, life and death all wrapped up in one package.
Like nature's version of Russian roulette.
Exactly. And that's reflected in how Soma is portrayed too. Even the most sacred things can have a dark side.
Yeah, it's like having your cake and also maybe having it kill you. But so what's the takeaway here? How does this whole good and bad thing connect to how people back then saw the world?
I think it tells us they were comfortable with a little more gray area than we're used to. You know, the sacred and the dangerous, the life-giving and the destructive, they weren't always opposites, but two sides of the same coin.
Huh. That's a really different way of looking at things.
And maybe a valuable one, even today. In a world that's obsessed with easy answers and black and white thinking, maybe there's something to be said for embracing the mystery, recognizing that even something as familiar as a mushroom can hold hidden depths.
No kidding. It's like we've been on this whole journey through this hidden world, and it's right under our noses.
Right. This whole deep dive, it wasn't just about ancient symbols, it was about that human need to connect with something bigger than ourselves, and how those connections can surprise us.
Totally. So next time I'm out in the woods and I see a mushroom,
Yeah.
I'm not just going to see a snack anymore, you know, I'm going to see a symbol, whole story, maybe even a portal to another realm, who knows?
That's what I love to hear.
Yeah.
Never underestimate the power of a good mushroom mystery.
Absolutely not. Well, on that note, we'll wrap things up here. This deep dive has been a wild ride. Be sure to check out our show notes for more on Toporov's work and all the fascinating mushroom mythology we discussed today. Until next time.